Coach Sweeney was telling us that after your one not good snap that he couldn't find you. He thought that maybe you thought you had gotten fired from the job. Like, what was happening after that bad snap?
Yeah, so obviously it happened. I didn't, I figured that we might get another opportunity to go out there. So I was warming up. I was doing what I normally do. Process doesn't change. Good or bad, you just keep moving forward and do what it takes to do well. And so I was warming up in the back, and I try to get away from everybody. It's kind of hard on a cramped sideline to snap a ball 15 yards because everybody just loves to seem to be standing in the way. But yeah, that's what I was doing. I was warming up, and then I guess there was a miscommunication with the coaches, but anyway, someone told me that, yeah, like, you're benched, and I was kind of like, what? This is how it ends? And so when Coach Sweeney, they were calling for Coach Sweeney was calling for me, and Coach Sweeney said something on the sideline. Everybody's trying to make sure that gets around. So I got called up to him. They found me after that timeout, and I kind of thought there, I was based off of what I was hearing with the rumbles. I was like, all right, I guess this is like, I don't know, I guess I'm getting fired. And he turned around and gave me a great pep talk, great belief thing that I was very excited about, because I was like, thank God I didn't get fired here. And so, yeah, that's kind of what happened. And I never lost confidence in myself through the whole process. I was ready to go do it again. I was excited about doing it again, but I don't know, I guess with miscommunication, they thought that Sweeney wanted me out, but he made it very clear that was not the case. So it was a relief.
Was it other staff members that told you that, or players? Like, it was a whisper down the lane? Like,
yeah, it was kind of, I guess it was other staff members. There was a miscommunication, and they were like, yeah, I think Holden's going in. And I was kind of like, shocked at the start of it, because I thought, how long I've been here, I've expected to, you make a mistake, you get up and you react to it, and you get better from it. And so I wasn't surprised when Coach Sweeney kind of gave that little pep talk to me, and he basically said, like, hey, nobody else I went on that field except for you. And so, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was miscommunication. I was just as confused as everybody else, and then he made it very clear on what he wanted. So
what went wrong on that snap? Obviously, knowing that you've done a million good ones, but that one specifically,
it's just a fluke play. It's kind of like whiffing on a golf shot somehow. You do everything right, you do the same process. There's no nerves. Done it over 300 times. Just lined up, did the normal process I did, and it just, released it too early than I normally do. And, that's what happens. And it's part of the job. For the past 5 years, Coach Sweeney always says, if you have that ball in your hand in a game, you're holding the program in your hands. And I've always taken that to heart. And I've known for the past 5 years that every time I step on that field, there's a possibility, there's a % chance that I could mess up like that, and that, the whole world could hate me based off one mistake. And it never once made me hesitate to walk on that field, because the only thing that I can get if I don't walk on the field is I know I won't fail. But I don't believe in that. And I might have messed up in that game, but I have the same amount, if not more, confidence in myself to do the job. And obviously Coach Sweeney does. And, I'm never going to be afraid to fail out there, because it's what I signed up for. And I love doing it, and I'm going to continue to do it for as long as I can. And, I'm excited about getting two more games opportunities. Hopefully we won't have too many opportunities to punt this week. So.
When did you make the decision that lacrosse was not going to be your future, and you wanted to try this long snapping thing?
It's happened in high school. It happened the first day of my senior practice. My senior year, first day of practice, they were like, we need a long snapper. I wanted to get out of practice a little bit and kind of hang out, and it was going to be me and my quarterback, because he was like the holder / punter. So I was like, all right, we can just do this for 10 minutes, and I don't have to go run. So I was like, I'll do that for a little bit. And it wasn't until a coach named Mike Solwald came up to me and said, hey, you're pretty good at this long snapping thing. I was like, thanks. He's like, you should play in college. I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know who's a long snapper in college. Like, come on now. I'm better than that. Here we are. But he said, listen, I played 6 years in the NFL and I won a Super Bowl being a long snapper, and you're better than I was. So after I heard that, I was like, yeah, you sold me. Let's see what we can do here. And he said, any school you can go to, you'll be able to walk on and play there, no matter how big. And so once he said that and I kind of saw the vision for it, he sold me right there. I was like, all right, I think I can go after this because, I didn't really realize what college football was when I was in Maryland because the best we had were the Maryland Terrapins, and to be honest, during my childhood, they weren't exactly the most premier program. When you go to a game, the stands weren't filled, pretty empty. And the big sport was lacrosse. It was cool to play lacrosse. It was the end-all, be-all to go and play college lacrosse. If a guy got to play college lacrosse, he was the man. They committed in 8th grade. And so when I learned about college football, kind of how important it was, and I came down here and I realized that I can either go play some small D1 lacrosse with my mom and dad to support me every weekend, or I can go out there in front of 80,000 on national television and see what happens. And so it's kind of a pretty easy decision to risk it all and try to go do this.
So you and your dad made the trip. Like you visited several schools. And how did you wind up coming back through Clemson? How did that happen? And you wind up, I think, at Loose Change. Was that it?
Yes. Well, yeah. So I think I was at South Carolina visiting, just doing the normal school thing because obviously it wasn't for sports. And he was like, hey, we're not too far from Clemson. You want to go visit again? I was like, yeah, let's go one more time around the block. Like, how far is it? He was like, 2 hours, easy. I think we were going to Tennessee afterwards, so I think it kind of worked out. So that's what we did. We just drove back to Clemson. The first time I came, I had a whole tour and did the whole academic business building, engineering building, saw it all, saw what the school was about. But the second time, we just drove in, wanted to see it all one more time, own eyes, and I think that's when we kind of figured out there was a lake. I don't know, on the tour, they don't show you the lake. I feel like we should fix that a little bit because the lake's a pretty good selling point, you know what I mean? They show me the football stadium, and I was like, you're telling me there's a lake here? Like, I had no idea. So on the second time, we just drove around. We drove up through Y Beach, actually, which was where I was like, there's a lake here, dude. And then I think we went to Loose Change, ate a Loose Change, went around downtown, saw how cool it was, and I just felt the energy of the place. It was a random spring, and people just looked happy here. And it always just kind of stuck in my brain and my heart that, like, this was an amazing place, and I just felt pulled to it. Couldn't explain why. I visited every Southern school, and Clemson was just something about it.
So you come here. How did President Clemens play a part in you getting on the football team?
Yeah, I met a guy named Rudy Russo. I was working at a restaurant, and I was a server, and my high school does an alumni event there, so I was serving for it. So I started talking to guys, telling them I was, alumni, and he walked up to me and was like, hey, you go to Clemson? I was like, yeah. So it was my freshman year going to my sophomore year. Or, no, I was going into my freshman year, actually. I don't know, one of the two. Anyways, I started telling him about, I played high school sports, go to Clemson. He's like, what'd you play? I was like, I was a linebacker, played some guard, tight end. Like, I did kind of everything. And then I also was a long snapper just for the team. And I don't know, like, what brought him to say this. He's like, hey, you were a long snapper? I was like, yeah. Just threw off the gloves, Just threw it back there as hard as I could and see what happened. He's like, why don't you just do that at Clemson? And I was I didn't want to tell a lot. You don't tell people you're trying to walk on at Clemson. Like, I feel like a weirdo if you're the one like, hey, by the way, I'm going to walk onto like the most premier program in college football. And then I just was honest with them. Like, to be honest with you, I am trying. I've been working at it for the past year or two, and I'm not getting much budge right now because they locked this place up like Fort Knox. They don't want anybody to join, it seems like. And so he's like, hey, I know President Clemens because Clemens was with President Towson, I believe. And so there's a lot of connections with Clemens up there because that's where he grew up. And he said, listen, I know Clemens. I can write a letter to him, kind of explaining your story. And so they wrote the letter. I read the letter. They sent it to Clemens. I think Clemens somehow got it to either Dooley, I don't know, someone over here. And then I got an email that night about the tryout date. And it wasn't asking to be on the team. I never asked anybody to just put me on the team. I just wanted an opportunity to try out. That's all I was asking for. And because of COVID, made that hard, but finally got my opportunity, made the most of it. So.
What did it mean when Coach Sweeney offered or said you had a spot?
It meant the world to me. It was something, first time in my life I threw everything I had into something. I mean, every single day worked at it. And I knew that the dream might not come to be just based off opportunity. And when he held me back, they were like, go say goodbye to Coach Sweeney. They held me back, and I sat there and, just said thank you, like I always do, shake hands, say thank you. And when he told me, like, hey, man, like, pretty good tryout. And I was like, thank you. And he said, just want to let you know you made the team. And when I heard that, I didn't believe it. I asked him, like, really? Like, is this real? Because it usually doesn't end. These type of stories don't end in that way, of the head coach telling you on the practice field right after the tryout that you made the team. Ask anybody their walk-on story. That is not how it ends, right? Like, it's usually an email. You go to the compliance guy if you make the team. The coach doesn't meet you until he sees you on the scout team. But his care and how much he put into that was just unbelievable. I think I shed a few tears because it was just all that work to finally get something out of it, even though I knew that I didn't know there was no guarantees. So it meant everything. I remember calling my parents, calling everybody